Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and we are brought to you by Turfs Up Radio. Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have with me Sabrina Turner. Welcome, Sabrina. You are with Healthy Health. Did I say
Yep.
that right? Yeah.
Healthy healthcare. Yep.
Healthy healthcare. Great. Well, Sabrina and we met ages ago when I first moved to the States after having been gone for a while and helped me with our healthcare needs. Because my husband and I were both self-employed. And so we've recently been back in contact and yeah, it dawned on me that you would be a great resource for our listeners, which are mostly self-employed landscape business owners. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your company, and then we'll dive in with some questions.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me today. So
Sure.
just kind of give you a little overall quick deal of my background. My name is again Sabrina Turner, and my dad actually started a company when I was 10 years old in the IT arena. So my background is actually building PCs. Then I got into network infrastructure, building a computer at 10 years old. He'd literally have my
Oh,
brother and
wow.
I sitting on a workbench in the garage with all the components and peripherals of a computer, and he'd time us to see how quickly we could build a computer. So, so I was thrown into the fire at
No
10,
pressure.
and
Yeah.
literally no pressure. As I got older and into high school, I worked there on the in summer, and I would do everything from be a receptionist to literally I'd go in and look at his inventory and be like, why is your inventory so messed up? And have just kind of had that ability as a younger person that's business focused, entrepreneurship type person, where I would see something that seemed to be wrong and just kind of get into it and figure out how to fix it. And so I ended up taking over the company when I was 24, ran the company till I was 30. We built an encryption device for ATM machines and did all sorts of cool stuff. I got to travel all
Oh,
over the
wow.
world and speak at ATM symposiums on PIN encryption standards and really weird stuff. And so, so it's been a ride. And so once we sold the business in, I guess, gosh, it was 2008 now. I kind of got into the corporate world for the first time in my career and got into what's called a PEO. Are you familiar with a PEO,
No.
Angelique? So what it is for small businesses, which a lot of the entrepreneurs, that might be listening might have heard of this before. It stands for Professional Employer Organization, and essentially they are companies that they take companies with like 3 to let's say 250 employees, but typically focusing on those kind of under 50. And they provide HR, workers' comp benefits, and payroll as kind of a bundled solution, but really people get into it because of the benefits. It's the driving
Okay.
force because it's very difficult to have affordable insurance when you're small company.
Yeah.
And so when I did that, I was in there for almost a decade. And just my heart was always on the benefit side because coming from a small business, when I ran my family's company, which was called Pi Systems, we typically had anywhere from 10 to 30 employees kind of over the rolling 25 years that we were in business. And my mom always has some health issues. And so we just struggled because, the
Yeah.
way that small business plans work is, let's just say for simple math, you're paying in, $5,000 a month in premium. Well, that's not a lot. That's $60,000 for the year. So at the end of the day, you have one bad year where somebody has $60,000 in claims plus everybody else doing their minimal stuff, and the insurance company is upside down. So what happens in those situations is they end up giving you these ridiculous increases and you never go down. Like now that's your
You
new
always,
normal,
yeah.
and then you just keep going up from there. And so I kind of saw this game and I realized that okay, well, that's not a fun game. And so I liked doing the benefits piece, and that was really a big passion of mine with helping business owners, but I didn't like all the fees that were associated with the PEO because it's kind of like a bait and switch. Like, here's these 4 things, and we're going to do all of them for you, when really the business owner only cares about the benefits. So you get that,
Okay.
which were good rates, but then you're going to get charged $250 per employee per month to use their services. And honestly, when as a broker and someone who's been in this business now for 15 years, I can just tell you that they really could literally just get equal to or lesser rates and not have all the other garbage.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of what drove
Making it
me. Mhm.
Well, and making it very clear. I think that's what I liked when we worked together is that you would explain things really well and clearly, and it's this or this. This is missing from this.
Mhm.
Just I think healthcare is confusing all the different options.
Yes, it can be extremely confusing, and the thing is that, based upon there's probably a million brokers in the country, and I can just tell you that everybody does it a little bit differently. But for me, I'm definitely someone to your point that I really want people to understand and be very transparent with. There's three options, right? This is what you're going to get with each one of them. This is less expensive. This is a little bit more. This is the most. Depending on what your needs and budget are, everybody doesn't have to get the most expensive thing all the time. I
Yeah,
mean, at the end of the day, there's reasons why people need to go that direction. Maybe you're a startup company and you're hiring people that make, over 150 or 200,000 a year, and you know that this is what they're going to be looking for. Okay, that makes sense. If you're in landscaping, I've got several landscaping clients. You need it to be competitive and you'd like it to retain employees, but you only have so much budget because there's several months out of the year, oftentimes with landscaping businesses, that they don't have the same cash flow coming in. And I think there's seasonal employees that can factor into it as well. And
yeah.
so after starting to work with some landscaping companies, I kind of realized that that was a part of it. But I guess just to get real quickly back, so I realized all this happened. And then for about 4.5 years ago, actually, when COVID was just about to happen, I actually started Healthy Healthcare for my husband because he had been in hospitality forever. And I was like, honey, I really want you to be home like a normal human. Like, we're always like two ships passing in the night. And so I started Healthy Healthcare because I was like, I love benefits. I know everything about them. I'll teach you everything about them. And so we started the company in January. I was actually the head of sales for a CFO outsourcing company, totally random. And COVID happened and they called me up and said, well, we really want you to stay, but we need you to stay for a third of your salary. And I was like, you're crazy. So already had healthy healthcare, like literally had already been ready to go. So from Friday to Monday, I got my email address, made sure I got added to our website and became the, CEO of the company kind of overnight. And then basically have grown the company about 30% year after year since we started the business. We've
That
got
is
5 agents
fantastic.
now, an
So was
admin.
it
So
2020 when you launched it?
yep,
Wow.
2020.
So I guess I met you not long after you'd launched. I didn't even
Yep.
realize that.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
pretty quick. And it's funny
Yeah.
just because obviously all the experience I had just being at the PEO and mainly doing group health, when I discovered all of these, because I started really getting the company set up at the end of 2019, and I realized there's all these plans that they don't tell you about them. Like the big carriers don't want you to know, the traditional brokers don't want you to know that there are these individual plans that exist. And so I was like, wait a minute here, instead of only offering one solution to a small business, I can literally take some of these individual plans and kind of make them look, smell, and feel like a group plan. And that way we can offer customization, affordability, all these different things to these small business owners, truly based on their demographics, their needs, and their budget.
So you're saying like, if you have 10 to 20 employees, you don't need a group plan for that.
You don't. You only need
Wow.
something that's considered an ACA compliant plan when you have 51 employees and up. And there's
Okay.
ways, even if you're doing individual plans and those are working for you, there's still ways that you can wrap something that's called a MEC in with individual plans to meet that guideline. But what happens in a lot of these companies, especially probably you're familiar with this in your industry, if you let's just say you have 10 employees as a good example, you might only have two people that really need and want it or can afford it. Maybe
Yep.
three people.
Well, some
And
people have it with their spouse or their family, plan or, so yeah, I mean, we're the same. I haven't needed healthcare until last year, and then you were able to sort that for us. And,
right.
I mean, but it's been a one-off. And if I
Yes.
have lots of freelancers that already have their healthcare, but then some people are new to freelancing and still need so it's so
It's
different, the needs
literally, they're all different. Like I
each
could
year
tell you
even.
out of 100 clients I have, there is literally no two that look the same. They're all completely different. What happens with traditional group plans is that there's a minimum 75% participation requirement to even have the plan. Now,
Yeah.
75% does include valid waivers for people who have spousal coverage, but there's a lot of people that just are uninsured and they don't have proof of other coverage. So they count, I mean, now if you are above that 75%, so again, in the matter of 10 employees, if you don't have 7 people either on the plan or proven that they have other coverage, you aren't even going to get onto a group plan. And so
Jeez.
that's the quandary that most people are dealing with. And
And you,
so
yeah, you spend money to get all this going, and then you don't reach the
yeah,
minimums, and then yeah, and so you can't
it's
actually get
terrible.
it at the end of the
No,
day.
because you'll go through this whole process, which is a bear. I mean, it really is not an easy process to go through and do all these things. And then what happens is when you go through to actually start the enrollment process, you send everything in, and there's 2 people that sign up out of 10. They're like, this isn't going to fly, my friend. Like, we won't do this. And so, and then there's the employer has to pay at least 50% of the least expensive plan as well. So there's just a lot of factors that go into it. And again, I mean, I have plenty of clients that have traditional group plans, but I would say if it's between individual and group plans, I've got about 75 small business clients, and I would say it's 90-10. It's 90% individual plans and 10% group.
That,
So
I
because
mean, that just
it's just a
opens up
better
a,
deal.
yeah, but it, like you said, if you have 10 employees and you could have 10 different plans. So each employee gets to choose what's best for them. So it's
Mhm.
actually, a better service. So
It
you're not
is.
having a compromise where this person has pre-existing conditions and they have a lot of medications, and this person just is in preventative everything.
Mhm. Yeah,
You
well, think
can
about
actually tailor
childbearing
that.
age versus
Yeah.
non-childbearing age. So, you get the hit. If you've got 4 women that work for you that are in their 20s and early 30s, they're going to draw the price up just like a gentleman, men in their 50s. So there's all these factors that
Okay.
go into it. And so to your point, instead of kind of going a one size fits all approach, it's like, okay, well, let's look at this. If you have an employee that let's say is 30 years old, maybe they work 30 hours a week, but they're making 30,000 a year. That person is most likely eligible for almost full subsidy on a state plan. So why not have us put them on a state plan that's free to everybody? So we
Yeah.
do that. Then we have somebody else that's got, maybe they're the CEO of the company or the owner, and they make, really good money over, a couple 100,000 a year and up. And they want the best of the best. Then I write them the best of the best. And then everything in between. There could be a 30-year-old that makes 60,000 a year, not really eligible for subsidies per se, but wants a good plan. And then I have all these plans right in the middle where typically a good rule of thumb is about $100 per decade of life is typically the cost, kind of give or take
Okay.
$50 on either end. So a 30-year-old is going to have a plan that's somewhere between 250 and 350 per month. And so if the company
That's
is
so
offering,
reasonable.
it's
Yeah.
reasonable. And so if the company is like, hey, I will subsidize this, the way that I structure everything is I talk to the employer first. I create a form. So ABC company, I have a form that's customized for every business. So ABC company benefits pricing request. They send it out to everybody interested in medical who fills that form out, gives my team the HIPAA information, like HIPAA, that you have to not supply data to your boss. They can't know about
Yes.
what's going on with you. We can. And so
Okay.
once we get that data, now I can look at everything and say, oh, wow, like you guys definitely are a great fit for this, or this. And then I basically we put together kind of a quote and spreadsheet that shows, employees, 1 through 10 with all the various plans that we're recommending for that person. Maybe there's 2 for each person. The employer at that point, I've already had a conversation about what they feel comfortable with as far as amount of money that they can offer per month.
Okay. Yeah.
I typically tell people go with a flat dollar amount because then that's something that you can budget for. 10 employees, I'm willing to give 200 bucks. Perfect. If everybody takes it, your maximum that you're going to look out of pocket is 2 grand a month.
Yeah.
And then the fewer people that take it, obviously that's going to come out of that bucket. And so once that happens and the employer looks at it and says, this looks great, I'm happy with this, we now take over and our company becomes an extension of your HR department, where from that point forward, we go to every employee. We talk to them one-on-one. We give them these plan options. We've already based it on the fact that the company's paying 200 bucks. We have the
Okay.
ACH information from the company, so the company pays the full premium, on the first of the month. And then they can do pre-tax deductions out of the employee's paycheck so that the company is getting the benefit on the tax side of having that as a reduced, it's a deduction business expense.
Yep.
And the employee is having that taken off of their taxable income, so they're reducing that amount that they would have to pay on tax.
Ugh,
So it's a
fantastic.
benefit on both sides, and now
Yeah.
that's something that not only will retain people, but will attract new people coming in that, oh, cool, you're going to give benefits and they can be customized to me. So
Yes.
it's, and then moving forward, we handle, obviously, we provide the report, to the business owner. Cool, here's everyone that signed up. Here's what their deductions need to be. And they just work with whoever their payroll provider is to get those set up. And everything just continues going on until terminations, ads, changes, things like that.
Well, it sounds like you give quite a bespoke service, a customized service. Like, how much is your service? Or you, how do you, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of work for
Oh
this.
yeah, no, yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, we've gotten it down to a fine art, which makes it to where we've been very efficient. But we get paid 100% through the carriers. So, I mean, I have probably
That's
relationships
amazing.
with about 100 carriers. And
Yeah.
so they pay us directly. I don't charge any consulting fees to my clients. We, again, go out and have those conversations, whether even in a group environment. But typically, ever since COVID, people are very comfortable with Zooms and phone. And so
Yep.
I would say again, like 99% of the time, I'm having a conversation just by phone with everybody.
Yes.
So it makes it
But a
very
lot
efficient.
of individual conversations, I guess, and like I said, we've worked with you before, and
Mhm.
I've been very pleased with the service, the
Awesome. Thank
level
you.
of service, the
Let
level
me make sure to send
of
you my link to give me a review.
yeah, yeah. Oh, good idea, because I don't know if I've done that. It's
Thank
it's
you.
been a while, but yeah, and I think it's as a business owner, I found it daunting coming from the UK to the US and having to figure this all out. I can imagine that as a business owner, it just seems like it's just too expensive to do. But
Right.
the rates that you were talking about are very reasonable. And the fact that you can tailor it to each employee is amazing. I didn't think that you could do that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that
and
just
and there's certain things if they've had, recent pre-existing conditions like cancers and heart attacks and things like that, it does limit the options that we have on the private market side. But we always have the ACA state plans to fall back on. So that makes it to where there is always something for everyone. It might not be the best case scenario for, because sometimes they can be a bit more expensive or a little bit, less attractive than like this beautiful plan over here. However, getting your foot in the door is the most important thing. And what I tell people a lot of times is that wait till you're at critical mass. Let's just say you've got 3 people who all have health conditions and we get them on ACA plans and maybe somebody's not happy with it, then we can look at a group plan. Understand it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to potentially give that person maybe something that they need that they're not
more
getting over here.
options.
So that's
Yeah.
the cool thing is there's not like you're stuck. You did this. That's it. Even with the private plans for an individual of an employee, if 6 months in, they're like, I don't know if this plan's working for me, we talk to them and we put them on something different. We notify the employer, hey, change their deduction from this to this. And they move on, and the employer has nothing to do with it. They're just completely out because we're now an extension of their HR department. So it just makes it so much more seamless.
Wow.
And again, like no one, when I kind of figured this out, I was like, oh, this is kind of lightning in a bottle. Like nobody's doing this. And I have no idea why no other brokers are doing this. But I'm taking advantage of that. And that's why we're growing so much, I think, because small business owners need this so bad.
Well, yeah, it's such a big thing. And so complicated. Like I said, I know it because I've looked into it. And yeah, it's hard to believe that you don't even have to charge anything to be an extension of the HR team. I
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm always like looking around for things that can make our industry better
Mhm.
and help business owners keep their people or attract the right people. Our industry is it's an amazing industry with so much potential, but things like benefits can be just, yeah, such an
Oh yeah,
unknown and
astounding.
expensive.
Yeah,
And um, yeah, the fact that you can be like an extension to the HR department is huge
right.
for a small business.
Yeah, 100%. Well, especially, you've got different demographics. To your point, you're from another country. I mean, I have a lot of times where I've got clients that they just don't understand the way the health system works here in the United States.
Mm,
And maybe they don't see the value in it. So that's the other part. If the employer's like, listen, I could put 200 bucks in, but you have somebody that doesn't see the value in it and they don't want to spend 200, let's just say it's a $400 a month plan. They don't want to pay 200. We can kind of baby step everything in. It's like, okay, maybe we just do a teledoc service, or we
mm,
at least write an accident plan, or we do a standalone, accidental death benefit that God forbid something happens to you on the job, it on or off the job, your family can get 100,000. So there's all these different things that ultimately, we can put out there to kind of baby step somebody in. And then, of course, once they realize maybe at some point, because they get hospitalized without insurance and they get those big bills in the mail and they're like, ugh,
maybe
that's why it
$200
feels
isn't,
like, yeah,
yeah.
maybe 200 bucks a month isn't so bad. So there's always kind of those things. And so for me, it definitely is an education when I talk to everybody. It's just making sure each employee understands this is what you're getting with this. And if you don't do that, like these are the risks. And so, if nothing else, can I at least do a teledoc? Because then the company will pay 100% of that because it's like less than 50 bucks a
Okay.
month.
Okay.
And now at least they can access a doctor by phone for free if they need, they have a sinus infection or something going on. And it's
And
free.
they
They
can
get a doctor on
prescribe.
the phone, they prescribe the
Yeah.
medication, send it to their local pharmacy. And at least at the very bare minimum, we feel like we've got
Yeah.
something for these guys.
That is so neat. Gosh, I didn't know about the telehealth and how
Mhm.
inexpensive that is too.
Yeah,
And so you are out of Texas, right?
I am.
But you're covering all over the US.
Yes.
So it
So,
doesn't matter what state any of the companies are in.
mhm.
And even if they have employees in different states, is that an
So
issue?
that's actually a great point because I think a lot of times in other states that's really challenging because let's just say you're based out of Illinois and you've got, half your employees are in Kentucky or Ohio or all these different places, in a group plan situation that can be extremely challenging because the group plan is based out of Illinois and sometimes those coverages don't necessarily go and have good coverage options from a carrier perspective in those states. So this is where
Okay.
the individual plans, I can find the plan that's best for their state and write them. And to your point too, like we do all 50 states, but there are some very challenging states that are limited with options, namely West Coast, shocking,
Okay.
Northwest. I do have options, but they're limited, right? And
Okay.
then I think there's only about 5 states in the country that there really are not a lot of options other than what their state exchanges would have. But there is
Okay.
something for everybody. It's just in, like the South, the Midwest, kind of all the way over to the East Coast, excluding the Northeast. Just like
Okay.
excluding the Northeast, excluding the Northwest, everything kind of in between is more normal. And then for some reason, the outer edges of the country are like in socialized world. So the way
Okay.
their medicine is just different, but we know all about it and we can kind of help people figure it out if they are in some of those stranger states.
Okay. Any strange state people out there? No.
Yeah, just know I can help you, but it's not my fault.
Gosh, I love this. I really, yeah. We had an event a few months ago in Atlanta. I think I was telling you about it, and we had things like, how to develop a great culture in your business, and how to recruit and
Mhm.
retain
Yep.
employees. This is just such a perfect lead in to another whole section of how to take care of your employees. So I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it, and I think we'll have to do something else, maybe some kind of educational webinar. I think,
Yeah, for sure. I'd be
yeah,
happy to do
or
that. I mean,
maybe
we
a
can kind
case
of jump in.
study or something.
Yeah, we can go case studies a little bit. I could give examples of, maybe a couple of my landscaping clients, a couple of different people size companies and just kind of go over what that looks like. We could even look at, some of the plan designs, and I could go into a little bit greater detail on what some of these plan offerings look like, just so people can feel comfortable with it and understand that, again, there's in the United States, we have an interesting, the industry of insurance is interesting. So there's never the perfect plan. I don't care where you're at, unless it's 100% paid for, like in a wonderful, so like probably the UK probably has really good coverage, but there are
Well,
so
but
many good things still, right?
less good care.
Well,
It
and
might
that
be
is what I've
free.
heard. So
Yeah.
I'll have people argue about it, and I'm like, well, listen, what United States does offer is at least you can get great care if you've got private insurance, you're in a good situation. And there's a lot of things that you can layer together, like a high deductible with a gap insurance that pays for the deductible. So there's like insurance for your insurance. So there's all sorts of things that we can do to kind of make it, cutting and slicing it up in a lot of fun different ways. But yeah, this is obviously, I'm passionate about it. It's a lot of fun, and I just love to help people. So like I said, anybody that's out there that I can help, just let them know, and I'll reach out and talk to them.
Great. Well, Sabrina, how do they get in touch with you? What's your website, contact details? We'll also put it in the show notes as well.
Of course, yes, ma'am. So it's www.healthyhealthcare.info. And my email address is sabrina@healthyhealthcare.info. And from there, I've got forms. Basically, every company I've mentioned, I can create custom forms for their employees. But there is a general form that's on my website as well, if you just want to at least look at it and get a quote to see what it looks like and what the process entails. You can find all that on the website. And other than that, my phone number direct is 817-296-6597. And then we'll share, of course, all these details as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
Mm.
much for being on the podcast. And I hope our listeners are going to reach out and get more information and
Sounds
hold
good.
on
Thanks
to
for
those
having me
employees. Take
again.
care
Yeah,
of everybody.
sure. Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Sabrina. Okay,
Thanks.
see you again soon.
All right. Thank you. See ya.
Okay, bye.